Hello, and what is going on, everybody? It is Master of the TDS, and I am joined by my lovely wife,
WritingRaven.
And we're back for another episode of Psycho-Synopsis.
Indeed.
The segment where we summarize all the Psycho for you. Just a scattering of topics throughout the week, all summarized into a neat little package for you to enjoy and consume at your leisure.
You're welcome.
Yes, we are back.
Mm-hmm.
Last week, we were in the process of moving, so we were unable to make our video, but we have moved now. Still some unpacking to do.
Yes. But this is the first recording in our new place.
Yep. So if it sounds a bit different, it might be because of the different environment, but we're hoping it has less noisy neighbors and we'll be able to accommodate things more.
As long as the Karen next door is quiet, we should be okay.
Hopefully. Anyways, we got a bunch of topics to discuss today, so without further ado,
let us bring in our first client, Jenna Ortega.
Jenna Ortega found herself at the center of attention after a video of her smoking went viral, leaving fans and viewers in a state of surprise.
I don't understand why it's so surprising and re-ing that she smokes.
And when we say they're left of surprise and all this stuff, like, we're talking people on Twitter were, like, having a hissy fit over it.
Meltdowns, really.
It was trending.
I don't know why. I mean, we're talking about people who probably smoke and vape themselves.
Now, let's be fair. Smoking isn't good for you. Let's make that clear. Now, I'm not smoking. Raven's not smoking.
Nope.
We're not advocating for smoking. But we are advocating for people's right to make their own life choices. But Jenna has been kind of thrown into the spotlight ever since it came out that she made changes to the Wednesday show, and the writers were very upset about that. And so much so that even with the writer's strike, they were still making her the butt of every joke.
Yeah, I mean, if the writers were better at their jobs, she wouldn't have had to make changes.
But I think because of that, because of making those changes, because of getting kind of backlash from people, bigger people, they're looking for any reason. Everybody's like overanalyzing everything she does.
Yeah, I don't get it. Leave the girl in peace.
If she wants to smoke, again, we're not advocating for smoking, but if she wants to smoke, that's her choice.
Uh-huh.
You don't get to dictate what she wants. If you want to be like, oh, I wish she didn't smoke, fine. But having, like, flipping out and having, like, fits over it and saying you're not going to be her fan anymore because she smokes? Really?
That's a bit extreme.
We've gotten to this point where it's become an obsessive thing with these people, where they obsessively cannot, like, separate the characters they see in shows with the actors or actresses.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. These people need a dose of reality.
Yeah. Again, she has every right to make her own choices. If you don't like those choices, you have every right to be upset over it, but going to extremes, making a video of her smoking trend, like, really? What's next? She gonna be spotted, like, licking an ice cream cone, and you'll be like, oh my god, it's not the flavor I like,
Probably.
It's vanilla. Wednesday would only have chocolate.
Technically, she would have the goth ice cream you would find at Maraluna.
My point being, though, that they'll always find something to be upset over, and this was not something that you needed to be upset over. This was something that you could say, oh, I didn't know she smoked. That's weird.
Yeah. Yeah, grow up.
We live in reality. How about you try?
Mm-hmm. Moving on? And speaking of things not in reality, next up we have the Hellfire Gala.
For this year's San Diego Comic-Con, Disney and Marvel have announced that they will be hosting the first ever real-life X-Men Hellfire Gala for members of D23, the official Disney fan club.
Why?
In case you guys haven't been reading the new X-Men, which, to be fair, a lot of people aren't, the Hellfire Gala is an event now where they basically randomly decide that all the characters, including the evil ones, need to come together, and they all dress like super weird and super fancy, and it's like prom for mutants.
It's literally the prom.
And their brilliant idea is to do that here, and they have like some huge cringe like dialogue that we're not even going to read to you because it was just ridiculous. But this gets universally laughed at online.
Mm-hmm.
X-Men once stood for something. It once stood for, a good kind of way of doing comics, and maybe it was a stand-in for certain minorities, but it was not meant to be the leading figurehead of Marvel representing minorities, which is what it's become.
Yeah. This is literally just loser cosplay. I mean, even people who can't afford full-on cosplay do a better job at cosplay than whatever the hell this is going to be.
Now, we have to be fair. We don't know. I'm sure there are some people who will come up with some amazing cosplay designs because there are people out there who do that kind of stuff.
Maybe, but anyone who's going as Wolverine or X-23 is not going to be allowed to even have claws. If they're going as Magic, she's not going to be allowed to have her sword. Then what's the point? You wouldn't recognize who the characters are if they don't have their iconic weapons.
And you wouldn't recognize them if they're wearing, extremely weird outfits. Now, to be fair, I'm sure there will be some interesting designs, whatever, but this is a really, really bad choice. It's just kind of weird that you would pick this of all things. It's meant to be this, inclusive 60-year celebration of X-Men history. Let me make it very clear. X-Men doesn't have history anymore. It is history.
Yeah, unfortunately. Always loved the X-Men growing up. Now they're dead.
The only thing I'm excited for is X-Men 97.
Yeah, I'm curious about that too.
Well, because of some of the things that the showrunner has said, now there's some things that people involved have said that have made it a little bit skeptical about that too. But the X-Men are history because that's where the actual X-Men are. Whatever they become these days, this glammed up super prom, really?
Why does everything have to be the prom?
Because they never went to one. They wanted to and they never did, and so it needs to be in every single thing because they need to live out their prom experience.
Neither did we, but then again, we went to religious school.
Even if we hadn't, you want to make a prom fan fiction about the X-Men? Go ahead. Don't put it in the comics.
Please.
And don't take those comics that don't sell very well and then make it into a thing. I'm sure there'll be people there, and I'm sure there will be a sizable amount of people, but regardless, these comics do not sell. People ridicule this all the time. It's not worth it.
Nope. Get lives.
Nothing else to say, honestly. It's just weird, cringe, and I have no clue why they're even trying to do this. It's not a great marketing thing, and I don't see it really doing much for the brand as a whole.
Nor do I. Moving on. And speaking of Disney, next up we have Disney Plus.
We are gathered here today to mourn the passing of shows no one watched.
Let us out! Let us out!
Disney is removing dozens of titles from its two biggest streaming platforms, Disney Plus and Hulu, on May 26th, including Willow, Artemis Fowl, and Y: The Last Man.
Thank God.
If you are someone who liked these shows and you are upset that it is going away, that is totally fine. Understandable.
Mm-hmm.
However, the reason they're removing this stuff is because it costs them more money to have them on the platform and have to pay royalties or rights for them than it would cost them to remove them.
Yeah.
Meaning that not enough people were actually watching them. Now, the Artemis Fowl movie was god-awful.
Yeah, they took out so many major plot points and then made it into some sort of superhero secret agent type thing that really didn't work with the character because Artemis Fowl is supposed to be a villain.
But Disney can't make the main character a villain, nor can we make him actually kidnap a fairy, so they didn't do that. Whatever, it was a train wreck. The Willow show got a lot of mixed reviews, in a sense where people were saying it was really bad, and there were people on the other side who were saying, well, it includes LGBTQ plus people and representation and whatever, so that makes it cool.
And Y: The Last Man, though its comic has an incredible premise and story, they turned it into a whole women can do everything men can do type thing. And
they also made it where it wasn't the last man because they have
trans women who survive somehow, even though the virus is supposed to kill off anything with a Y chromosome.
These are properties that people heralded, and then they were canceled, and then even with Willow, the person's like, oh, it's not canceled. It's still going to be here. We just shelved it. Yeah, you shelved it so well that they literally removed it from Disney+.
Yeah. If you guys really liked this stuff so much, why didn't you watch it?
Or better yet, if you guys care so much about what you made, why didn't you make something worth keeping?
Ooh, that's even better.
Notice, other things haven't gone away.
Yeah, that's true.
But when certain things are removed, you have to ask yourself, instead of saying, this is unfair, maybe think, why are they being removed? Is it because I'm out of touch? No, it's the fans that are out of touch.
Every time.
Forcing inclusivity and diversity and all this stuff in it doesn't make for a good product, and you've admitted it. You can pretend all you want that it did well, but if you had to remove something that you made specifically because it was costing you more money, that is an admission that it was a failure.
What he said.
So, thanks for admitting that the things that we all called failures were failures.
Yeah. But they're not actually going to admit it in actual words. Moving on. And again, speaking of Disney failures, next up we have The Little Mermaid.
China's Global Times warns the Walt Disney Company to stop pushing a racism narrative around The Little Mermaid and other classic fairy tales, or they will end up losing their, quote, magic glory, end quote.
And it's coming from China. That's saying something. I mean, even China has just told Disney, you want to push this stuff? Make original stories. They actually said that. The people they're trying to pander to the most, aside from all the crazy people.
Disney has had this thing where they've been pushing racism and stuff as a defense for anything they make that isn't considered good. A lot of people have problems with The Little Mermaid. It was not because Halle Bailey was Ariel. It was annoying and stupid, and they know it. But they use it as a defense from the fact that many people had problems with the CGI and a lot of other things and changing music, whatever. As you can see, I took the liberty of photoshopping it to show it's a C- because there's some very crazy things going on. And yes, that was a joke about below sea level. Ha 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 ha, laugh. And there's some weird things going on around this movie that we want to address. One of which is that if you were to go look at the audience score right now, you would see that it's currently sitting at a 95% audience score.
That makes no sense.
Except when you look at the all audience score, it goes down to about 40-something%.
That makes more sense.
So explain to me how that works, Rotten Tomatoes.
They can't, because they're shills.
Now, as you'll see, there's a compilation here. The compilation shows a lot of people angry at people saying that The Little Mermaid is, only at a 70% or whatever, and you'll notice some very interesting things. For example, 2 of them have Little Mermaid profile pictures. One of them even says The Little Mermaid. There's a lot of these people who respond with one line about how they mad as hell in the quotes. They're mad at the quotes. They're mad at the quotes. They're mad at the quotes. They're losers. They're mad at the quotes. They're mad at the quotes. They're mad at the quotes. With a GIF or a TikTok or something like that. And there were pages of this.
Yeah, quite a few that Master found.
Yeah. So much so that Twitter's actually, I think, gotten annoyed at me and decided to search suggestion ban my account. So if you want to find me on Twitter, you will have to look a little bit harder.
Yeah, even though you're verified and paying for the verification, which is supposed to promote you in search suggestion.
Which I'm going to cancel if by the end of this week it's not fixed. I'm hoping it's just a temporary thing, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But that and the fact that there's all these people coming out make me think that there's a lot of bots. Now, there could be paid interns around it as well. But Disney always does this. When movies are not good, they always throw in a race swap or a gender swap because that way they can claim that you're racist or sexist if it doesn't do well, rather than pointing out the terribleness. Like, for example, Awkwafina.
She can't sing, she can't rap.
You gotta explain that.
Chicka wah, chicka wah, 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 blah, 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 blah. That's literally what it sounds like.
Yeah, except Raven did it better because even...
Well, yeah, I did it better. I can sing. She can't.
They gender swapped / changed Scuttle into a Falcon and made it Awkwafina, and she raps a new song called The Scuttlebutt.
Ugh.
Yes.
It's bad.
If you want to knock yourself out or you want your ears to bleed, that is the only use I could see for that song.
Yeah. It hurt my brain.
And the CGI, all that stuff, it didn't look good coming out. Many people had problems with the CGI.
Have you seen the video going around of the behind the scenes with Halle Bailey sitting on a blue-covered guise while they're filming the Under the Sea song? She's playing a mermaid, and she can't swim, so they're making it look like she's sitting on something moving underwater.
Whatever. I don't honestly care.
It's bad.
That's what we're saying, though. Now, do I think this movie is a complete flop? No. Do I think this movie is a 95% audience score? No.
I mean, there's a video going around of people fighting in the audience instead of actually watching the movie, which was apparently more entertaining than the movie.
Yeah, there was people, like, actually getting up and fighting, and the movie's playing, and it's playing Under the Sea. You can clearly hear it, and they're just not paying attention to it.
And the movie didn't even play the steel drum right.
Regardless, Disney needs to stop with the bots, stop with the paid interns. Instead, how about you go and actually make a product worth watching, and then people will actually go watch it. Stop giving black people sloppy seconds of race-swapped characters. There's plenty of stories out there that you can adapt that are brand new from their perspective that would give you exactly what you wanted without having to change things or make anybody upset, but you know you have to, because no one would actually go and see your movies. They just won't. So you have to get outrage to get people to even talk about your movies.
Yeah. Try making something about the African gods for once.
Getting people mad about your movie does not actually put people in seats.
No, not at all. It does the exact opposite.
And hiring these people who have The Little Mermaid coming out this time. Oh, everybody's The Little Mermaid. No. This movie will do okay, but it will not be doing the numbers that Disney wants. It's just not in the cards because it's doing terribly overseas. And that's just how it is. Mm-hmm. And maybe if you had spent more time actually making a product that was worth watching instead of running a defense for, oh no, the racism, then maybe you would have made more money.
Yeah, probably. Moving on. And speaking of flops, next up we have Indiana Jones.
An alleged plot leak for Lucasfilm's upcoming Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny film claims that Phoebe Waller-Bridge's Helena character is the one who makes the critical hero decision because Indiana Jones refuses to do so.
Who could have seen that coming? Oh wait, all of us.
Now, we're going to go into possible spoiler territories. We have not seen the film. It's not out yet.
No.
It is currently sitting at like a 48% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is not good. Mm-hmm. But we're going to go into possible spoilers. So if you do not want to be spoiled and you want to see this movie, you are more than welcome to do so. That's your choice. But we will be going into spoilers.
In 3, 2, 1, go.
Apparently, now, we had heard for a long time that the ending was going to be where Helena, which is Phoebe's character, would take over the mantle from Indiana Jones and of younger Indy and go back, basically erase him from existence.
Yeah, and basically be the one to save the day.
Now, it looks like that's not the case. However, it's not much better.
Yeah, it still ends with her saving the day.
Basically, at the end, Indiana Jones decides that he wants to stay in the past because there's nothing left for him, because they, of course, make him get divorced from Marion because we can't have any of the characters being good fathers or good husbands. It's not good.
Yeah, everyone has to be divorced for some reason. You can't have healthy relationships.
And, Helena's like, no, you have so much to live for, and he doesn't want to do it. And so she punches him and knocks him out and drags him back to the present, and he wakes up in bed and gets really mad at her for doing it, and she's like, you have so much left to live for. And then Marion comes in, and apparently they reconcile, and it ends with you see Indy's hat hanging on a clothesline, and then an arm reaches out to grab it, and you're not sure if it's his or not, and then it zooms in like a that's all folks kind of thing, and that's it.
Sigh.
We need to Luke Skywalker, another character, right? We need to make him so that he's a crotchety old man who's upset with everything and hates himself. I stole from people. I'm bad. Nobody wants to see this in a movie.
Literally no one. Keep your fan fictions to yourselves.
Stop it. We can have decent male characters who have strong female characters around them as well without them needing to belittle the main character. Indiana Jones was always known for being this person who cared about what he was doing and all this kind of stuff. You're telling me he became old and decided that he's a crotchety old man and hates everyone and everything, and he's weak and powerless, and that this woman has to take over for him and do everything that he won't do?
So basically he decides that he belongs in a museum? But
You know what, though? The movies belong in a museum. They didn't need to be taken back out. There's only 3 Indiana Jones movies.
Plus all the books and the Young Indie TV series.
And if you want to call the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull as part of it, you're more than welcome to. I didn't like it personally.
I thought it was weird.
It just didn't fit with Indiana Jones. It's not a bad movie by itself, but if you put it into the Indiana Jones,
Universe,
it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
This movie is not tracking well. This ending is not going to track well. It's stupid. And, of course, Kathleen Kennedy has also come out and said that they might continue this in TV shows.
Of course she did, because she just wants to continue destroying George's mantle.
Why don't we get more Young Indie?
That would be nice.
Just do that. But you won't, because it's not good enough. A straight white male can't be the lead in a show. It has to be a woman now.
Unfortunately.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge has been known for ruining certain franchises, like James Bond. Bringing her into this project was already a red flag, but you could have done her correctly.
Yeah. For one, you could have made her prettier.
Also, here's the thing. Where's Short and Round?
I don't know, but that is a good question. Having Indy and Short Round reunite would have been great.
And they apparently kill off Mutt Williams, aka Shia LaBeouf's character, off screen.
Lame.
Because they were going to have him take over, and then he got all mixed up and stuff and whatever, and so that didn't end up happening. But I think that if you had made a last Indiana Jones where he had given over his mantle to Short and Round, you could have had a diverse and inclusive continuation of Indiana Jones that more people would have got behind. Instead, you couldn't, and I guarantee that the real endings, the ending that we heard about, was true.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
James Mangold, or as I like to call him, Man Baby Gold,
because he is one,
has vehemently denied that it was ever talked about. I disagree. If it was vehemently denied, why did you get mad about it?
A good question.
If you were so sure from the beginning that we were going to like what you had to show us, and we were going to not be mad with the ending, why get mad on Twitter? You wouldn't have had to.
Indeed, a good question.
Unless, of course, you were trying to defend your movie because you were worried that people were getting correct, and you were trying to make it seem like it wasn't, because it's a bait-and-switch movie that nobody wanted.
Yeah, pretty much.
Nobody cares about this kind of stuff anymore. Please, just make decent movies. You could have literally made a completely different movie that wasn't set in the Indiana Jones universe with a strong female character lead who belittles a guy, and no one would have cared. But you needed the brand recognition. Yeah,
they always do, and that's how everything gets destroyed.
Some things are better left alone, or as my wife would say, it belongs in a museum.
I mean, that's what Indy would say.
Well, you said it first.
I suppose.
In this context, anyway.
Anyway, let's move on. And next, we have the Rings of Power.
I have no evidence, but you better believe me.
Trust me, bro.
The Lord of the Rings of Power actor Ishmael Cruz Cordova doubled down on accusations that he's been the victim of racism, bullying, and harassment for portraying Arondir in the show.
And of course, there are no receipts.
Now, I want to make very clear. We're not saying there weren't people who were mad at him, and I'm sure there was bullying, harassment, and racism. I'm 100% certain there was.
Yeah, it's likely, but they still never gave any receipts.
Yeah, because, you know what's crazy? It's almost like people who are in movies and stuff, get people mad at them.
What? You're kidding!
You mean public figures have people who don't like them, who send them hate mail and call them names and all this kind of stuff? That can't be. It's only the black people.
No, it's all of them. Apparently, except for Rowan Atkinson.
Whatever. Regardless, this is not something we're saying didn't happen. We're saying that they always make these claims instead of being able to actually say, hey, we made a bad show. And then when you ask for receipts or whatever, you're terrible. I had people on Twitter saying that he had nothing to prove to me.
Ha. Yes, prove that you've been harassed with evidence. That's what proof is.
if you want to say that you were harassed, then that's fine, like in a passing statement, that's fine. If you want to make a whole big thing about how this happened and this happened and this happened, you need to show proof. We've gotten into this thing where it's like, believe everybody now when they make any accusations or say anything, and it's ridiculous.
I know. I hate it.
We had a huge court case where literally it was shown that someone who made all these claims was lying through her teeth.
Yeah, and the guy won.
And because he had a little thing called evidence, and yet we haven't changed.
Unfortunately. You would think we would have. But no, they are adamantly holding on to this ridiculous notion that proof is not required to make a claim.
The Rings of Power was objectively a bad show. That's just how it is. I'm sorry if you don't like it. If you enjoyed it, that's totally fine. But objectively, it was not a good show. It was not a actual, like... It was not Tolkien.
I mean, your dad said it wasn't bad, but agreed it was not Tolkien.
Exactly. And my dad is more normie than pretty much anybody I know.
I thought your mom was the most normie we ever knew.
Well, aside from my mom. But he said he had tried to watch it, and it was okay, but it wasn't Tolkien, and he didn't finish it.
See?
If even normies are saying that it's not good, it's not good.
Yeah, and that's saying something.
And it's okay to admit that, and you know what? People had backlash against you, not because you were a different skin color. It was because you were making stupid statements, and they were making changes purely for identity politics reasons, and that's the entire thing that's happening here.
Mm-hmm.
The best example I can think of is House of the Dragon.
Yeah. It came out around the same time as The Rings of Power. Those two shows were going up back to back, competing against each other. Everyone loved House of the Dragon. Pretty much everyone hated Rings of Power. And House of the Dragon also had race-swapped characters, but you never heard anyone complain about it because the characters were portrayed well.
Yes. People did complain at first, but these characters, actors came in and acted their butts off, and it worked. And so people, even if they had problems, they did a good job. You shouldn't have to claim my racism, my sexism, my harassment if you didn't do a good job. If you did a good job, no one would care. But you evidently didn't, and that's okay. Do better.
Please. Just entertain.
Because there's not much else you could do worse.
True. Moving on. And lastly, we have the Terminator.
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I didn't get that.
Siri.
James Cameron has revealed that he is working on a script for the next Terminator installment, and it will be inspired by the rise of actual artificial intelligence in the real world.
Skynet is coming! I hate AI!
Maybe, but, James, good talk here for you. Nobody liked your last Terminator.
You couldn't even say that without laughing.
Your Terminator, you remember Dark Fate? No, you don't remember it? You know why? Because most people forgot it.
Yeah, it was bad. You killed off the main character! Why would you do that? That creates a freaking paradox!
It's subverting your expectations.
Blech.
Nobody is saying there isn't a good movie to be made here. There could be. But given the fact that you have vehemently come against your using guns, I think, at one point?
I think it was that, yeah. Someone said that.
And that your last movie did, like, terribly. Maybe there was a reason.
Yeah. Maybe just stick with your Avatar movies.
Maybe you shouldn't make something just for the sake of making money.
Because it doesn't always make money.
It does if you create a good product. Avatar 2, The Way of Water, actually made money.
Yes.
I didn't see it because I wasn't interested. But evidently there are people interested enough for it to make a profit.
Yes, because it was more or less the same story just told in the ocean, but the visuals were stunning.
Exactly. Now, Terminator has potential to be used for a bunch of different things, but you keep letting yourself get caught up in all these identity politics things and whatever. And I hate to break it to you, the machines don't care what gender you are. They shoot to kill.
AI apocalypse comes, all the crazy people will be like, robot lives matter, equal rights for artificial intelligence, even though they probably can't even pronounce those words, and they're not going to get those equal rights. They're going to get shot in the head.
In Minecraft.
Sure.
What? Gotta be careful. I mean, I know it's not Mama Susan anymore, but still gotta be careful.
You can do just about anything in Minecraft.
Behave.
No, I want to see them get shot by AI Terminators.
In Minecraft.
Sure, let's go with that.
Anyways, before
It was James Cameron who unleashed the bloodlust.
No, back in.
Not my fault.
It was totally your fault.
No, it
Let's
wasn't.
move on.
It was not my fault.
We're moving on now.
Okay, fine. And with that being our last client of the day, it is time for us to reveal the diagnosis of the week.
And we got an interesting diagnosis for you that we've used before, but I still think it fits here.
Do tell.
So the diagnosis for this week is Obsessive Compulsive Personality Disorder, or OCPD.
Please explain.
So OCPD is a mental health condition that causes, preoccupation with perfectionism, organization, and control. Basically, symptoms can include people being over-devoted to work, not being able to throw things away, even when objects have no value, not willing to show affection, lack of flexibility, all these things that we see portrayed in Hollywood, especially the not being able to throw things away. Guess what? Willow got thrown away because it was garbage. We need more of that. If something is not good, it should not be heralded as, well, it's inclusive, so we need to keep it. No. These people are so obsessed with their way of things, and they need to do things perfectly to their standards that they forget the paying audience is the people you need to make things for. If you don't make things for that audience, you're setting yourself up for failure, and it doesn't matter eventually. If you're not the one to throw your stuff away, someone like Disney just might be. And that's why I feel like it's a great diagnosis for this week.
I agree.
And now we move on to the remedy of the week.
And this week we are sending you to the hijabi gamer. Muslim, but a very good gamer, and also has some very good opinions, particularly on one of my favorites, religious hair coverings. We basically had a back and forth about that, and it was quite a lot of fun.
Now, you might be wondering, why are we suggesting these people, because we're Jewish and whatever? We're not going into all of that. And she's never been nothing but nice to us, and we like her content, and...
we like her.
Yeah, so we wanted to send some love her way. She's much bigger than we are, and so chances are we're not going to bring a huge influx of subscribers, but we did want to give her a shout out and say that we appreciate her content, and we appreciate her character.
Indeed we do. So... grab your consoles, head on over there, and let her know that Gothic Therapy referred you.
Indeed. But that is all we have for this week. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and also make sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe with notifications on so you do not miss your weekly therapy session.
Or you will be charged. But remember, when you do subscribe, your first session is free, so smash those buttons like they're bad kitties. And do consider joining us at the Dusk, Midnight, or Dawn level. We would appreciate it quite a lot. You can also find links to all of our socials in the description below, as well as links to our merch store and our Discord server known as The Clinic. Be sure to check them out. And if you don't want to stick with us here on YouTube, you can also find us on Rumble and Odyssey.
We are planning to do our first members-only stream at some point soon, and we are also planning to launch our bi-weekly show that we are planning on doing. Keep an eye on the community tab or follow us on Twitter to learn more about that. We're getting moved back in, and we're making sure our internet's up to the task, but once we do, we will be giving more information on that.
Indeed.
But otherwise, that's all we have for this week, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Gothic Therapy, out.